You think we should? Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
We're going to talk about one of France's most beloved holidays today, Thanksgiving. It's coming up.
Donner, donner
Is
et
that a big
remercier.
holiday in France?
They call it donner et remercier. Merci pour me donner, I guess.
Well, it's a big holiday here. It's
yes,
actually a big holiday in lots of places around the world. They don't
But
necessarily call it Thanksgiving, but
we've done it in France. I'm going to put my hat because the light is too much on my head, no?
the light is too much light is glowing out of your head. Are those ideas getting away? Yeah, cover them up. Keep those ideas in there. Well, every country, most countries have some sort of celebration at the harvest time. And of course, when we do Thanksgiving is sort of beyond harvest time, but every country has some form. I mean, it's in Canada has one, all throughout Asia, many places in Europe, Africa. It's incredible how many people have a similar type celebration. But we're going to talk about our version, the American version of Thanksgiving, which dates back to the very, very early 17th century when the settlers were first in America. Now, there's a lot of conflicting information out there about the origins of Thanksgiving, and there's also a lot of myths.
More conflicting information. My favorite.
Yeah. First of all, there's some argument about whether it started in Massachusetts or whether it started in Virginia. Virginia claims to have done it earlier, like in 1619, and the one that most people think of as the first Thanksgiving was in 1621 in Plymouth, Massachusetts. In a nutshell, the history goes that after their first year in America, the Pilgrims, they'd had a hard time, and the friendly Native Americans came and helped them out and showed them how to grow some crops, where the best hunting was, just really like
how to talk to turkeys.
Yeah, where the best grocery stores were,
the best Trader Joe,
where the nearest Home Depot was, and so they really helped the settlers survive. And so out of gratitude, they had this big feast where it was the Pilgrims and the Indians, and they had all this, this bounty of food. And that's a nice story. It's a very nice story. Unfortunately, it has some problems. First of all, it may have happened that way, but shortly after that, the settlers proceeded to do untold, unkind things to the Indians. There were wars. There were all kinds of stuff following that. So do we remember that, or do we remember the version that I learned in school?
Yeah, right.
Well, anyway, it's
it was not a good day for everyone, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it may have happened that they all got together and ate, and the settlers may have indeed been grateful to the natives for helping them survive. What happened though afterwards was that a lot more settlers came. A lot came, and I don't think the natives were prepared for this. They thought this was going to be a friendly little commune that they could get along with, and suddenly they were arriving by the thousands, and many of them were undocumented immigrants. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's a modern problem. As we all know, the relationships between the European settlers and the Native Americans throughout the United States and throughout North and South America were always very contentious, mostly on our part. So,
but they had the turkey already. That's how the turkey came. I mean, turkey. What's the turkey has to do with all this?
Well, that's an interesting thing because the original dinner probably included deer, probably had some type of fowl. Now, whether it was wild turkey or not, I don't know. I don't know if anyone knows. I'm not exactly sure how the turkey came to be the bird of choice for Thanksgiving. Oh, and there would have been lots of corn and beans and
Yeah.
but
Right.
interestingly enough, Benjamin Franklin thought that the wild turkey should be the national bird of the United States, which
That's funny.
it's kind of a goofy looking bird. So I think the bald eagle's much more handsome, even though it's
Right.
basically a scavenger bird. And
But
the
there's a
wild
lot of
turkey, huh?
No, I said there's a lot of things to do with turkey. That's why there's so many recipes and so many websites on food. And we're gonna give you a few tips and tricks. But first, I would like to introduce this that we talked about a long time ago, but it finally came out. You know, the reboot. Have you tried it, James? Did he give you button?
No.
So
No.
we just made it, but we sold out everything on this weekend. So I have no more. We need to make more and see this back to the kitchen. Those are functional teas. They're really, really amazing. And they are very herbal, and they are made of very different herbs and spices and kefir. So it's superfood, and we just came out with it after 8 years of work, long time. We are going to do a second batch, and they're going to be available as little by little. And you should try them. They're really, really good. It's this guy.
Now, is there actual tea in it, or is it all an herbal infusion?
There's tea also. Okay, it's called reboot.
Nice.
It's called reboot.
Freeboot.
And it is from the word rebouteux.
Uh-huh.
Le rebouteux in France is what my mom used to deal with, or my grandmother rather. It's the doctor of the time. So there was no doctor at the time in the countryside. People could not afford doctors, so they would go to the rebouteux or the shaman. But the rebouteux is the name in France. And rebouteux would working with whatever they had. So it's a lot of thyme, garlic, onion. They didn't have ginger yet much, but they had clove, which is very important. And capsaicin, cayenne. Cayenne was not there. I'm sorry. They had vinegar to work with, and they had a lot of spice and herbs. Even though the spice trade and people said that spice was very expensive. The funny thing is, spices were very available. It started in the medieval times.
Right.
So I know people keep saying it was very expensive and always for privileged people, but I see those spices in many, many recipes all over the medieval times. So maybe they didn't have all the access that we have today. But I know cinnamon was there, clove was there, ginger even. Because remember that, what's his name? This chef started to work with those, 18 or 1900, what's his name? Anyway, I forgot. So anyway, so that's for the spices. So this is how we came out with the tea. It's a beautiful tea, and we're making another one, which is gentle detox for the liver, and all of them are stimulating. That they're really immune boosters. Okay.
Well, and those people would have had access to herbs easily because they just grew wild in the countryside. So they were already the early shamans, as you say. One of their specialties was to experiment with all these native plants and herbs and things to look for medicinal uses.
And the way they figure out how they work is people are confused about how they could they figure out how they work by observing.
Yeah.
By observation and trial and error. It's really literally the observational studies that we refute today, which is really bad, because now all they care about is the random trial, which is pretty super vague when you do a study. And observational study is completely put aside, where observational study is actually a really good thing. And when a doctor gives you a medicine, he's going to experiment with you. He's going to see if that works. And if that doesn't work, he's going to give you another one. And if this one works well, then he found the one that works for you specifically. So there's always an observational time. This is the empiric thing that we cannot lose. And now with the new processes we have, it's all random try and randomized try, and we are losing that aspect of observation and looking at what works for you. This is what most important than anything, not what works for this guy, what works for you. So the shamans and all those people, they were observing the plant growing, and they were They had time to do that. They had hours and hours and hours and days and days and days to watch stuff grow and act, and they will use on animals and them. And as it works better, they do just like the doctor does. They'll try something that doesn't work, they'll modify, or they try something else, and then it works. It's the same principle.
See what people can accomplish when there's no television?
Oh yeah, no television. No. Exactly.
Well, and also those herbal remedies didn't have the serious side effects like a lot of the medications today, which are really overly processed. So they come with.
No, they do. So James, you mean they don't have the side effect on top of it, but they could be poisonous. So each plant can be. Right.
Yeah, you had to determine what was actually edible, but
each plant can be a poison or healer. Okay, like if you take the mandrake, for example, or the belladonna, they were poison, famous poison in the old days,
right.
And also the other one, which was anyway, and today is a medicine. It's a heart medicine.
Right.
Literally, it's from
belladonna is a very common homeopathic remedy. But you can't take it in high doses. It can really make you crazy.
But that's a poison. So literally, it's a poison.
And but it's a good treatment often for migraine headaches.
Interesting. Yeah. So
I guess it's the theory that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Well, so those herbs are very beneficial. One thing very important: the molecules have not changed for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and they work then. They work today the same exact way. We're still trying to find new stuff, whatever. That's what's working very well. Look at Chinese medicine.
Right.
They don't change their formulas.
No.
Right. It's anyway.
Well,
this is good. This is a good tea. A lot of tons of herbs. I have ashwagandha, thyme, ginger, turmeric. It's really, really potent. Matcha tea. So it's a very, very strong stimulant and immune system. So guys, it's on the website, Kitchen Affairs, called Reboot. Just came out. We have to redo a new batch because it's all gone. And we go little by little because we can't do a big production, but
Well, I was going to say too, the thing that people don't realize is that a lot of modern medications are based on herbal remedies originally.
About 80% of it.
Yeah, and a lot of them are still derived from these plant sources. Of course, they're highly processed and
some work really well. I mean, but the thing is, why do you want to go to medicine when you have the product that works better? But that's my opinion.
Yeah, medicine should be a last resort, not a first resort. I mean, I'm certainly glad I live in the era of antibiotics and things like that because sometimes you need them. Yeah, doctors are pretty quick these days to prescribe medicine when I think they should probably look at other alternatives.
Yeah. Well.
All right.
So that's my alternative. So you guys, what should we do for Thanksgiving, Chef?
Well, that's interesting.
Because this year is very different, right?
It's going to be very different. I read an article today in a business magazine that said that a poll was taken and 40% of Americans say that they're going to host Thanksgiving and that they're going to have 10 or more people and they're not going to require their guests to wear masks. And, there's this whole thing where people say, well, we're going to have a big family gathering, but everyone's going to get tested before they come. But now the experts are saying that's really not a great idea because from between the time you get tested and the time you show up to grandma's house, you can easily get the virus.
I would honestly not go too much into this subject because I'm just saying I completely agree. There's so many things. When you look at Sweden, who's doing really well, I'm just, let's not go into too much of that.
Well, the only reason I bring it up is to say that a lot of people are doing really pared down Thanksgivings this year. They're going to have a lot fewer people, just kind of their inner circle, people that they've kind of created a bubble with. Like in our house, we're just having our daughter and her husband and their little girl over because we take care of the little girl a couple days a week. So we've kind of established this bubble. So they're going to come over for Thanksgiving and it'll be fun, but it's not like past Thanksgivings because usually there were 14, 16, 20 people. And this year it'll just be just a few of us. So what do? Do you cook a whole Thanksgiving dinner? Well, you could. I once cooked a whole Thanksgiving dinner just for my wife and I before we were married, when we were first
Wow.
going out together. I invited her for Thanksgiving to my apartment, and I cooked a whole Thanksgiving dinner just for the two of us. And it was great. I mean, we didn't eat much because we were young and in love, and we were, but I had a lot of leftovers for the next week, which always is great. To me, it's the best thing about Thanksgiving dinner are the leftovers,
Yeah, right. Okay, so
which is why it's always more fun to host than to go to a dinner, because I remember as a kid, we'd sometimes go to relatives' house for Thanksgiving, and I was always kind of against it because the next day we had no leftovers, and it was like, oh man, I'd really
oh
love a
shit,
turkey
oh, that's so
sandwich
funny.
today. So
Funny, yeah.
But it's kind of funny that we celebrate Thanksgiving so late, because you think of it as sort of a harvest celebration, but it's way past most harvests in most parts of the country. Certainly in Massachusetts, where it may or may not have originated. November 20, the last Thursday in November is several weeks past harvest in Massachusetts. But anyway, we celebrate it at this time because Abraham Lincoln declared it so. He's the one that declared that the last Thursday of November would be the official celebratory date for Thanksgiving. So you can thank or blame Honest Abe for that one.
Yeah.
So what do we do for Thanksgiving? One of the problems with Thanksgiving dinner, I think, for people that choose to host it, is that they just stress themselves out.
They what? They what?
They get so stressed out. They
Yeah,
just
yeah,
get
yeah,
so anxious about it. I've known people that would cook for 2 days, and by the time it was ready to sit down at dinner, they couldn't even eat. They couldn't even look at the food. They were just so exhausted, and that's no fun. I mean, you want to enjoy yourself. You want to enjoy the food you've prepared. And so I think there's a lot of things you can do to
Wow.
minimize the stress
So
and to make it more fun.
that would be meal planning.
Yeah.
So meal planning, organizing all your stuff, and make sure you are the long. I mean, not the last minute, right? So you don't.
Right.
That would alleviate the stress also.
I mean, the first thing is sourcing. So you want to figure out where you're going to buy everything and how you're going to buy it and when you're going to buy it. You want to figure that out in advance. Certainly, most people have to order a turkey well ahead of time if that's what you're going to do. And then you want to make yourself a list and a little schedule of when you're going to do things. I mean, a lot of people have done this so many times that they just do it by rote. Or if you're an experienced chef, you think about it. But even an experienced chef's going to do a menu and think about it, whether they write it down or not. They're gonna have a plan in their head of the order in which they're going to do things, when they're going to do things. There's a lot of stuff you can do a day ahead or even 2 days ahead. I usually like to, if I'm going to bake pies, I usually like to do those the day ahead of time, because it's going to be a lot of stuff in the oven on Thanksgiving Day, and unless you've got a kitchen like Kitchen on Fire and you got multiple ovens. But
yeah, right. Oh, that's another thing. So this is a very good tip about the oven. When you make your menu, you need to figure out how much stuff go in the oven, because if everything
yeah,
goes in the oven, you are not gonna make that dinner. It's not
yeah,
gonna work. So you need to change a few things, or you do it the day before, or the whatever. But you have to be careful that oven gets full pretty fast, and
right,
also the more stuff you put in the oven, the longer things will take to cook.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so it's not gonna be the same timing. It may double the time.
right, right.
So you have to be careful with that.
I mean, some people are lucky and they have multiple ovens in their home, but I don't, and most people I know don't. And so you do have to consider that. That's why I always like to do pies ahead of time, because you can cook pies the day before and they're great on Thanksgiving Day.
Yes.
You can do a lot of your prep the day before. I mean, you don't want to cut vegetables too far in advance, but if you're doing stuffing and that sort of stuff, you can prep a lot of that stuff a day ahead of time. I typically do it on the day, because My wife and I are both in the kitchen. So what I usually do is, what I've done the last couple of years is I kind of set up at one end of the counter and I start doing prep. So I'm cutting up all the stuff for the stuffing. I'm cooking sausage for the stuffing, getting it all ready and in little bowls, like mise en place, as we talked about many, many times. And I get that all ready, and I do that first thing in the morning so that when it's time to start assembling things, it goes pretty quickly.
But it looks like this year people are going to do a much simpler menu. So that's going to be much easier to prepare, less people to come, and they're not going to do crazy stuff. I see what the demand is for me for the classes. And I'm doing a class, by the way, on Thanksgiving dinner. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I forgot when the day, but it's going to be sides and simple stuff. Like I'm doing a turkey breast, and the turkey breast I'm going to brine for at least 2 hours, so that turkey brine is not going to be. The breast is not going to be dry when we cook it. Super easy to do. Turkey breast is beautiful. The turkey thigh, though, it's great too, but it's way longer to cook.
Right.
So it's a good idea also. So basically, for the turkey, I like to cut it up entirely and cook it, or just get the pieces that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I can cook for 4 people, 6 people. Cranberries are super easy. Don't buy frozen, seriously. Buy the fresh one. Put them in the pot. Go on low heat. That's all you need to do. You can put a cinnamon stick. It's really nothing to do. Brussels sprouts, just shove them in the oven. Sweet potatoes, just put them in the oven. That's 2 things in the oven already, plus your turkey, so you have to be careful. And then
we usually do turkey because the family they all want turkey. So we brine the whole turkey. I have a big igloo ice chest, and what I do is I put the turkey. I mix a brine with brown sugar and salt and sometimes apple cider, mix all that up together. I put the turkey in there and in the bag, I seal it, shake the hell out of it. Right. And then I pack it in ice in this ice chest and just because I don't have room in the refrigerator for it, especially at Thanksgiving. There's too much other stuff in there. And then we just let it, I do that one evening and just let it sit overnight and it's ready to go in the oven the next day. And there's
well, we have a lot of side you can do pretty simple. There's nothing really complicated, by the way. And make a big salad so you can digest correctly.
Right.
And one of the things that's funny, people are always getting very tired after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And they always think it's because the tryptophan of the turkey the tryptophan in your turkey has a mild. It's one of the elements, but the most of the element is you eat a lot of different food.
Right.
For hours. And that will make you tired, whatever there's turkey or no turkey.
I used to eat so much when I was a kid. By the time dinner came around, I was so hungry. I would eat so much that I just couldn't move. I would just go lay on the couch. I felt like I'd swallowed a basketball.
You feel that thing, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I've eaten turkey by itself and I don't get that tired. So I've never believed that the tryptophan was the whole thing. I think you're right. It's just you eat so much, you eat so many different things, and a lot of starches.
The starches are the big deal. Yeah, lots of starches.
I mean, that's one of the things about Thanksgiving.
I mean, you have to understand that when you eat, at some point, the digestion is starting. So all the blood, not all, but a lot of the blood is going to the stomach. So that's why you get tired. You get like, because there's no more, it's all there trying to get that guy going, right?
Right. Plus, at our house, we also, during Thanksgiving dinner, we drink a lot of wine before, during, and after the meal. So
I know what I was checking, Chef. I need to check what, we were going to do a demo. I didn't have time to do a demo today. I'm so sorry, guys. There's no way. There's way too much work for me.
I'm doing a demo right now. I'm cutting up a turkey. Can't you see me?
Let me check next week. Let's see what's going on next week. So next week, maybe we can do. What do you want to do next week for demo? Should I do brine demo? That's
we should do brine. We should maybe talk about stuffing ideas and one of the things that I learned a long time ago. When I grew up, you always stuffed the bird with stuffing, because everybody thought that was such a great idea. But the fact is you almost double the cooking time of the turkey by stuffing it full of all this bread and sausage and so, and it's stupid. Now we do a stuffing. We do it in a big baking dish. We cook
Yeah,
it along with the turkey, and you can
most
baste
people.
it. You can baste it with the turkey juices, and you get the same
Yeah.
effect.
No, James. Nowadays, most people do their stuffing on the side. They don't. Nobody does.
Yeah,
Very
we
rarely. Because yeah, no, no.
we always make a big sheet pan of cornbread the night before, and then we
Right.
use that and we break
Yeah.
that up, and that goes in the stuffing along with I usually cook a bunch of really good Italian pork sausages, and
So
a
we do
bunch
something.
of
We do something.
celery and carrots, onions.
We do something similar. In my grandmother used to do a similar stuffing for goose
Yeah,
for
yeah,
Christmas, and she would do pears and chestnuts.
right. That's classic. Yeah,
Right. Right. So
I
that's where those stuffings come from. It's not. Those
yeah,
are the old European tradition, I guess,
sure.
from Christmas or something.
Yeah. I keep meaning to cook a goose, and I've never done it. I had goose once for Christmas. We went out to dinner on Christmas once in New York, and we had Christmas goose, and it was a really fun experience. But I've never cooked one. Have you cooked one?
The whole turkey.
No, a goose.
Well, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's whatever. The meat is pretty easy. It's whatever weight. It's usually what is that? 20 minutes per pound, roughly. All these
yeah.
birds, chicken, goose, all.
Doesn't a goose have a lot more fat on it, like a duck?
Yeah.
Yum,
But
yum,
I
yum.
didn't cook the goose. My grandmother used to cook it. I don't think I've done that.
Yeah,
But I don't see the big difference. It's pretty, but it's really good and it's very rich. It's like making. Sometimes she would make a duck also, or a
uh,
couple of ducks. Duck
I
is
was
really for Christmas. It's duck, goose,
right,
smoked salmon, oysters,
right.
um, oyster, smoked salmon. Yeah, that all seafood and all good stuff. That's how we used to make. But the dinner that my grandmother used to make, it takes. She would work days and days and days in that kitchen,
Wow, I
and
bet
we
it
had a
was great.
big family. Yeah, no, she was a big family. She would make. She would always make her favorite, which is the venison. Come on, what's that? Le chevreuil grand veneur in a grand veneur sauce. It's a
Oh my God.
So that was we had to have that. So it's a game that's very strong. That has to be.
Right.
Uh, so basically, she would take the animal with the blood. She would order the blood with it of the same animal. That would marinate in the blood and wine, and the day after she would use that marinade, which is blood and wine, and she would make a sauce out of that and reduce that.
Hmm. That mixture of blood and wine, that's usually a description of me on the end of Thanksgiving Day.
No, me, it's not mixed anymore. The blood is gone. I start like this, and then the blood is all, yep. Yeah, no.
Yep.
But Thanksgiving is cool. It's like, it's meeting, reuniting with your friends, family. This is super crucial, very
That's the
important.
most important thing.
Whatever you have to eat, even if you have a little piece of, if you don't want to cook like crazy, make something fun and easy. Just like James was saying earlier, that does not stress you out. You want to enjoy it. There's so much stress right now. Everybody is so stressed. You can make a really cool big salad with maybe some. You could order some smoked turkey legs,
Mm-hmm.
all done. You could shred that. You can make tacos. You can make a nice. You could make an aioli style. You bake a bunch of vegetables, big salad, a bunch of turkey smoked that you can buy shred or cut in pieces. Make a couple of sauces. Buy some French fries. Get some sweet potato fries. This is nothing to do, and have a dinner in like. You cook for maybe 1 to 2 hours. Are done. You have something pretty amazing.
I did paella one year for Thanksgiving. It
Oh
was
wow! Yeah.
just my girlfriend and my sister and I, and it was really fun. My wife and I have done a couple of times. We've done guinea hens, which are really fun because you basically each person gets this little miniature turkey on their plate, And they're really easy to split too. You can just take a cook's knife and just split them right in half if people don't want a whole one. But it's really fun to just eat it. It looks like everybody's got their own little turkey, and they're so delicious.
Ah,
I think this year
oh yeah, quails are great.
we're going to do quail this year, which are even smaller. We'll probably do like 2 per person.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, I can eat like 4 or 5.
I know.
You know,
So we're going to probably do that.
you know,
We
I
just
used
don't
to,
want to do the whole big thing this year.
yeah. James, you know, I used to go eat quail at that Vietnamese restaurant in Auckland, the Cheval. What is that?
Oh, Le Cheval.
Oh my God.
That place was so good. Is it still there?
Well, it's still there, but it's closed.
Well, yeah.
Like, no, I mean, I think
everything's closed.
I think they may be closed forever. But those quails, man, oh my God, with lemon and the trail.
That was the first Vietnamese restaurant I went to out here in California when I moved out here. I used to go to a little Vietnamese place on the edge of Chinatown in New York that I loved. And
I have not found good Vietnamese restaurants here. I'm sure I don't know all of them, and I've not visited all of them, but I didn't find any really crazy good Vietnamese restaurants. Le Cheval was really, so it was a cheaper one, but Le Cheval was really a cool one.
Do you know who Bruce Adele is?
Yeah.
Does the sausages. Bruce turned me on to a Vietnamese restaurant way the hell out in Richmond somewhere, and it was.
Oh wow!
I mean, you would drive by it a million times and never think to stop there. And he took me there.
Still there?
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
No.
I think it is though.
Okay.
But
so they don't do turkey though.
You can't. Great. It was so good.
Food. You can't order your turkey dinner there.
No, but you could have Thanksgiving dinner there. Vietnamese food would be fine with me for Thanksgiving. But I don't really like turkey all that much. I mean, it's okay. It's just not my favorite meat. It's a little dull.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I think there are things you can do to it to liven it up a little bit, but certainly brining is key.
Brining and then a good sauce. So you could maybe we can do the next week. We can demo. I don't know if a barbecue sauce would work well with that, but I like barbecue sauce, and kids love it.
Yeah. So speaking of cooking, we have a few questions here that I wanted to go through from.
Yeah, we need to go through anyways. We have so many. We don't answer them anymore. I know.
So one of the questions that comes up a lot is about salting. Do you salt your meat before? Do you salt it after?
When do you salt stuff? Right.
So what's your take on that? What do you think about salting your meat?
Okay, so first of all, salt is really good for you. And the lack of salt or not enough salt, in my opinion, is very bad. This is my opinion. You guys can do whatever you want with that.
We couldn't live without it.
And you can absolutely not live without it. Soups, you can salt a little bit as you go and salt at the end. You want to salt the soup as you go because the salt needs to go into the vegetables or whatever you're cooking. If you salt everything at the end, only the broth gets salted or flavored, and then you chew on the food that has no flavor. So that's an issue.
Right.
For the meat, you want to salt it either right when you go cook. So you salt it and then you cook it, or you salt it about 1 hour before you cook the meat. It has to be an hour, not half an hour, not 20 minutes. Because the water is coming out as you salt the meat, but then the salt breaks down fibers, and basically what's going to happen is at some point that liquid get reabsorbed slowly.
Right.
And the meat gets really, really good. So salting in advance is great, but you can't do it like 20 minutes. It has to be really 45 minutes. But so let's say an hour, so we're sure. And then if there is water on the steak, you need to pat it dry. You can't ever cook. I'm talking about the steak. Vegetables are more forgiving. But birria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Birria sauce for a few days. We'll deep fry the turkey. Yeah. Deep frying turkey's become a big thing in recent years. I love deep fried turkey. I've never done it myself just because I
Me
don't
too,
have the
man.
setup and
Wow, you
I
need
don't want
that. And
to.
I can tell you, it's dangerous. So
It's
unless you
very
know, because
dangerous.
I've seen the worst accident on a YouTube video, not at my house, but I've seen, and it's very simple. Huh? The guy just dropped the turkey, but the oil kind of went onto the fire, just like that. Like in two
Right.
minutes, the thing just exploded.
Yeah, you
So
have to be
I was
careful.
like,
And
what?
you mentioned making sure that there was no water on the meat when you cook it. Well, that is hugely important if you're going to drop it into a vat of hot oil, because
Wow.
if that turkey's wet, that water is just going to spit and
Yeah.
fly all over the place. And of course, the obvious thing is you want to make sure that the volume is correct. You want to make sure that when you put the turkey in, the oil's not going to overflow the pan, because that's when you get a big fire and life as we know it ends. You got to use a Mexican cazo.
What's that?
¿Cómo se dice cazo en inglés,
Oh, I know, I
Lucy?
know. It's right there.
Chicharrones. Ooh, oh my God. Oh my God.
Where?
Chicharrones and carnitas.
Oh yeah, it's a big pot. It's a big spot.
Yeah.
Pot.
Yeah. Yeah, you need a big pot, and you need to test it out in advance. You need to know how much oil to put in there so that when you drop a turkey in, and you don't want to drop the turkey, you want to lower it in very carefully. Yeah, you want to be really careful doing that kind of stuff. But it is good. The outcome is really good. I knew somebody one year, they did a smoked turkey and a deep fried turkey. They were having a lot of people, and they were both great. But I like to salt. If I'm cooking a steak, I like to salt it like 45 minutes to an hour before I cook it,
Yeah.
because I just think it breaks down. It's just going to make a more tender piece of meat. It's going to be more flavorful. That's just me.
Chef, I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna show you what this guy is.
Okay. By the way, Lucy Perez Lorera is very
This
cute.
guy.
I love her tiara. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's what you need. That's what
Yeah,
you
no,
need.
I don't keep my turkey whole. I always cut it up. So I always do that. I do that with the chicken as well. I
Yeah.
think it's much easier. It always works. It's guaranteed to work. It's perfect. Not have to worry about anything.
People like the whole turkey because they like that Norman Rockwell picture of the turkey on the table, but it's kind of silly because then you got to take it away and carve it. And if it's really hot, it's harder to carve. And the most important thing is the different, like you mentioned, the different parts of the turkey cook at different times. So if you cook
Right.
it all together, you're going to end up either with a really dry breast, or you're going to have overcooked thighs.
The dried breast, by the way, happens because you don't rest that turkey enough, and that
Yeah,
is the biggest mistake that people do. They want to get that chicken. I mean, they've been waiting for hours.
right.
So the turkey comes out, they eat it. Unfortunately, that has to sit for 45 minutes to an hour before you can even touch it. So that's the problem. You have to
Right.
basically,
And if you
yeah,
start carving that bird when it first comes out of the oven, you're going to have a mess. That all that juice is going to come
yeah.
flowing out on your cutting board, and it's going to be
And the
gone.
steam. Oh yeah, and you can see the steam.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's your nutrients and your moisture. This is gone. It's all
You want
gone.
all that to stay in there and get reabsorbed and to settle down. You want the meat to settle down
Right.
and to contract again and bring the liquids back inside. It's very important. But I agree with you. I think butchering the turkey beforehand is a much better idea. You can cook it in different ways. You don't even necessarily have to do it all at once. You can cook them.
Exactly. Right. Now, what I do recommend though is you cook the whole turkey, even if you cut it in pieces, because you can freeze meat that is cooked much
Mhm.
better than raw meat. That's all.
Right. And afterwards, the next day, when you've got this whole turkey carcass sitting there, whether it's cut up or whether it's whole, don't just throw that away. That goes in the soup pot. That becomes a fabulous turkey soup, or it becomes a stock that you can
Right.
use over the
Right.
course of weeks. All kinds of stuff, but certainly pick off all the meat,
Right.
cook the carcass in a pot of water with maybe cut up an onion and some carrots and throw in there and cook that and make a nice stock. And then you've got all this great turkey meat to throw in the soup when it's done. That's good stuff. That's probably going to be better than the original dinner.
So what else for the salt? Vegetables, when you roast vegetables, you want to salt the vegetables right before you go in the oven. You cannot salt the vegetables and let it sit on a tray. They're going to start sweating. And the sweat, your water is your biggest enemy in your oven. Just like in the frying, same idea.
Yeah. And what kind of salt? What kind of salt should we tell people?
So I have a few, let me get my box, but I'm using something from Redmond Lake, Utah.
You know what I use? I save all those packets of salt you get from fast food restaurants. And then I open them all and empty them into a bowl, and that's what I use. It's so much more affordable.
That's how I get my peanuts.
Yeah, I sometimes fly all over the country just to collect peanuts, and then when I get home, I have a whole bowl full.
It's like the guy was saying, you know, I just paid like $2,000 for a ticket, and all I get to take home is a bag of peanuts.
I like sea salt myself.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of sea salt.
I know what you're talking about, and that's great stuff too.
The problem with sea salt, and it's very polluted. So
depends where it comes from. Some are better than others, certainly.
It is. Yes, it is.
I really like Malden sea salt.
Yep.
Malden's really good.
Good guy.
Yeah, well, that's the smoked one. I buy either that or the plain one. They're both really good.
Redmond Lake, Utah. This is Well,
Utah has these huge salt mines.
Right.
That these people.
Beautiful salt. By the way, it is the most amazing salt.
And of course, all salt started as sea salt, but millions and millions of years ago, these when the oceans receded, it left these gigantic deposits of salt. Because of course, the way you make sea salt is you take ocean water and you let it evaporate, and then what's left is salt. So these huge deposits of salt were left, and it created these underground, just like that, these big salt mines. And this took billions of years to form.
Right.
You know, it started when I was a kid. But
so this is Redmond. This is what that's my salt. This is what I get.
Yeah, it's really good salt. It's full of minerals. It's really good for you.
I wish I was a picture of the mount. To me, it's the most healthy salt. Okay, so whatever.
And you know what? The best salts are not that expensive. I mean, it's not like it's not affordable to buy.
No, it's not. That's the thing. Yeah,
it's cheap. They also do things out of these mines where they take out these huge slabs of salt.
Right.
It was a very popular thing for a while to actually cook on those. You'd heat them up and you could cook fish on them, and it's pretty great. I mean, it makes great food. It sort of seasons as it's cooking, but
let me show you something. Oh, I showed you. I showed you last time, no?
I don't know. You just became invisible.
I'm not invisible.
I don't want to alarm you, but you've become completely invisible.
I'm just gone.
Oh, is that the salt slab? Salt plates. Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I got that.
Yeah, those are awesome. It looks like marble, doesn't it?
Wait. Oh yeah, it's literally like crazy stuff. And you cook on that. You literally cook on that. You put your fish, your shrimps. Shrimps are great. This one, and you eat that, right? It's salt.
So you can just put those in the oven and heat them to a certain degree, and then take them out and just put a fish fillet on there.
On it and go back in the oven. Yes. and I afford them absolutely.
Yeah.
You see, you can
Yeah.
serve. You can also serve in there. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. They're cool to put right on the table, and you just don't want to put it in anyone's lap because they're very hot when they come out of the oven. So, yeah, use good salt. It's like everything we talk about on this show. Good ingredients aren't just, it's just not snob appeal. There's a reason you use better ingredients.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and unless you're talking about a huge price discrepancy, which for most of the stuff we're talking about, the difference between factory produced food and really good food, the price difference isn't that much.
No.
I mean, we're not talking about caviar and foie gras here. We're talking about vegetables, salt, meat, poultry, fish. You're putting it in your body. You're putting it in your family's body and your friends. Why would you compromise on the quality of your food? Not to mention the fact that it impacts the earth around you. The food choices you make impact everything.
Right.
So yeah, buy good food. And when it comes to salt is so inexpensive.
Right.
Buy a lot of it. Always have a lot of it on hand because you'll use a lot when you cook. Don't be afraid of it. It's not going to hurt you. People have been brainwashed about salt and sodium. Of course, I guess that's really two different subjects, salt and sodium. There is a lot of sodium in packaged foods and in prepared foods often, and in fast foods that are hidden. And that can be a problem. But if you're sensitive to that issue, those are the things you need to avoid, not salt. Just cook your own food and use good salt. Salt equals flavor. It's like we always say fat equals flavor. Well, salt is the same thing. Salt makes food taste better. It makes food taste like itself. High in lead. I think Himalayan sea salt is just high. I have not heard that high in lead.
It's Himalayan sea salt is from Pakistan, by the way. All the Himalayan sea salt is from Pakistan. They just don't label that because whatever. Salts are all different. This is not my favorite. It's a really good salt, I think. I've never heard that either, but good to research. I go with anything. In America, you have some great salt. I mean, I know but there's something like the Red Mountain, the Boulder salt also in Colorado, really amazing salt.
Right.
So there's a few things that are really good, and
sometimes
plenty of choices, but you need a good salt.
Sometimes they get the fleur de sel, the little
yeah, but those fleur de sel are beautiful for cooking.
I like to use it after the food is cooked to put it on cooked food because it just sort of settles there. It's very pretty and it's very flavorful.
So remember something. This is from the sea. It may be contaminated. There's a lot of there's a lot of petroleum product.
Right.
Very sticky, and a lot of stuff in the ocean. The ocean is very polluted. So I would stick with salt that is mined. And like you say, if I buy my real salt, the Redmond Lake salt, I go to the Berkeley Bowl, buy it bulk. Well, no, I order the bags. But if I go bulk, it's $3 a pound. It's really cheap.
Yeah.
So go to the bowl, get that. It's the most expensive of the bulk. It's only $3 a pound.
And just keep it in a big bowl next to your stove or on your counter so that it's there to grab whenever you need it. All right. So from salt, let's go to oils and fats. One of the questions is, should I use cheap olive oil to cook in? I've heard some people have said, oh, I hear that I shouldn't use extra virgin olive oil to cook in. I should buy a really cheap olive oil for cooking and save the extra virgin for, salads and drizzling on cooked foods. I think that's, pardon my expression, but I think that's bunkum. I think that's bollocks. That's bad advice.
Which one was that?
Use extra virgin olive oil all the time?
Oh yeah, no, exactly. So yeah, yes, sir. I agree. I don't think you should buy a super expensive olive oil, anyways, like a crazy expensive. but you should not eat in any form cheap stuff, especially oils.
No.
So that's like, why would you? So people ask me all the time, can I cook with a cheap olive oil? Well, cook with olive oil, and that's the olive oil you're going to eat. So,
I mean, there are other types of fat you can use, but if you're going to use olive oil, use a good olive oil. It's the really, really cheap olive oil. If you can buy a liter of olive oil for, I don't know, $10, I guarantee you it has been doctored beyond recognition. It has probably been treated with chemicals. It's probably not all olive oil. There's all kinds of things wrong with it, and
they put colza in there,
you just can't produce good olive oil at that price.
Yes, right.
So if you can't afford to cook with olive oil, use something else.
And so what's the base price for? If I go to Montreal Market, there is some good olive oils at $13-14 a bottle, right? No,
I mean, that's probably the bottom end. That's probably the least you'd want to spend.
So it gets expensive.
Yeah. I buy all my olive oil from these guys now.
Which one?
Olive Oil Jones.
Same, yeah.
This is just a sample bottle, but we had my friend Steve Jenkins on the show one day talking about it.
Someone was asking me, Chef, where do you find this olive oil? Is it everywhere?
No, you order it from oliveoiljones.com, and he ships it to you.
Okay.
He packs it himself. When you place the order, Steve goes and fills the bottle, puts the label on, packs it, and ships it out the same day. Wow. So it's the freshest olive oil you can get because he buys it in bulk, brings it over in bulk from the estates in Europe, and it never is exposed to oxygen. And then he's got a pump system so he can fill a bottle, cap it really quickly. He literally hand glues on the label. That's why they're sometimes a little funky. And he packs them up and ships them. So it's unbelievable stuff. I can't tout it enough. And seriously, I promise you, I don't promote this oil because I know the guy that does it. He is a friend of mine, but I like it because I know him and I know what his standards are. And this stuff is amazing.
Right,
exactly.
It
will change your life. It will change your life.
Wow.
He also has great vinegars too. I love his Lambrusco vinegar. The he does now a sweet, semi-sweet Riesling vinegar that's really amazing.
Ooh.
It's good for cooking, for salads, for marinating, all kinds of stuff. So, what other kinds of fats and oil? I mean, we always say there are other things.
The healthiest one. Okay, so the healthiest one are not the seed oils.
Right.
So everything else. So avocado is great, even though it's a seed, but it's a fruit.
Yeah. And avocado oil is really full of all kinds.
Rice bran is what I use. Rice bran is what I use here. And then we're going to go into the chicken fat, the bacon fat, butter, clarified butter, ghee. Mm-hmm. Those are really good fats. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to go into all these seed oil that are loaded with omega-6 and already damaged in the bottle. So I don't know. It's just.
What about vegetable oil? What about people like vegetable oil?
Vegetable oil is a seed oil. They're always seed oil. This is a mixture of corn, peanut, super inflammatory oil. Very inflammatory. Very inflammatory. So
when I grew up, a lot of people used Mazola oil, which was a corn oil, which everybody thought was so great. And I've come to find out that stuff is hydrogenated and it's
not good.
It's not good.
Fat is really important for the body, for your brain, for your muscle, for everything, for your skin. You want something good. You don't want some crappy stuff, man. If you have to rebuild your body, you have to understand your body entirely regenerate itself in 7 years. Maybe not entirely the brain neurons, some of them, but the whole body entirely 100% is regenerated.
Yeah,
in 7 years. Not at the same time.
I've always heard that, but then I wonder why I look so old, if that's true.
Well, you have new cells in cells, because if not, you look even older. You'd be dead. Everything regenerates. The new cells are created all the time. This is part from the stem cell. That's what the stem cell do. they rebuild the cell or any cell. And
Right.
that goes for liver, skin, heart, whatever. It's everything is regenerated, not at the same time, but in time. So some stuff take 2 years, some stuff take 4 years. Only thing that is not 100% regenerated is the brain neuron. Some of it only. If you are using your brain correctly, you will. If you're not, then you're not.
I
And
see.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it is important to eat good fat for that. For one of that, that would be one of my reasons.
They've done tests on smokers, smokers that had smoked for years, and
Yeah,
their lungs are just black, and they've quit smoking, and in a matter of years, in a relatively short amount of time, their lungs regenerate and get healthy again. I mean, if you've already got lung cancer, you're kind of screwed. But
yeah.
if you've just got if your
Smoking is
lungs
a hard
are
one.
damaged from smoking, you can recover that. You can
You can recover from anything as long as you didn't damage too much your body, like in a crucial way.
right.
And that means you eat pretty good food. You didn't completely destroy your body from processed food. So you have enough enzyme and antioxidant and regenerative cell that can keep working for you, even though you're smoking, which is really a terrible thing. I do
Yeah.
smoke pot. I'm not saying it's not, it doesn't happen. But the smoker that smoked a pack a day or half a pack a day, that's something that is hard to repair eventually. It's going to
I've
be
known
hard to repair.
people that smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. I
Yeah, I
just
know.
think,
In France, they smoke a lot. And some people do good, some people don't. Smoking is a hard one. And then the next one is eating crappy food. That's another
yeah,
one.
yeah,
And
yeah.
not, yeah.
I don't
So
smoke.
what do
I
we,
haven't
so
smoked
I
in many,
want,
many years, but I do like a cigar once in a while.
yeah,
But
no, I smoke my pot. So,
3 or
so
4 a
James,
month. It's,
next week we're going to do a couple of demos though.
yes, we are.
We'll have a little demo. So should I do a, let's see, should I do a, maybe I could do a brine, show you how to make a brine.
I think you should deep fry a turkey.
Oh my God, no. Wow, that's scary, buddy. I don't,
But
I
you
don't
should
like
do it
deep,
out in the middle of Shattuck Avenue. You should
I
take
don't
your
like
pot.
deep fry already. I'm always scared of deep frying, so no.
Well, I just want to mention one last thing about Thanksgiving dinner, and that is, as we talked about, one way to relieve the stress is to plan ahead, and that includes planning where you're going to buy things. And when you're thinking about where to buy things, also think of sustainability. Think about making wise food choices. Look for birds that are free range, that have been raised organically. We've said this countless times on the show, but you know what? Just because that turkey is going to be dinner someday doesn't mean it has to have a horrible life. I mean, it should still have a happy, free life where it gets to wander around and eat what it wants and have sex and read good books.
Not with you though.
No, no, no. I quit doing that years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Turkeys for me, boy.
After the judgment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
After that restraining order, I can't
right.
go near the turkey farms anymore. Also, in terms of sustainability, think about reducing your food waste, and that's where we talked about
How do you do that?
using everything. Use that carcass to make soup. Use the leftover meat. All that stuff is great the next day. Keep using it till it's gone. And when you've used up the carcass in a stock and it's no good anymore, think about putting it in a compost pile. In Berkeley, there's a great system. We have these green bins, and you can actually put food scraps and other things in there, and then they put it into a giant communal compost system, and then you can actually get compost back from them for your garden. So it's a wonderful idea if you don't have the space or the inclination to do your own compost, the city will do it for you. So
Oh, cool.
think about all that stuff. Make a
All right.
list. Above all, have fun. And but we'll see you before Thanksgiving because we're going to be back next Monday. This is not a threat.
Right.
This is a promise.
The only day I'm not sure, Chef James, would be the December 7th. There's a lot of things going on, so we'll see. But next week we'll be there. Oh no, we have a few times. We have 2 more weeks
Yeah.
before. Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
we'll do some demos and fun stuff. Thank
December
you,
7th
Lucy.
is Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. And in the meantime, don't be afraid of your kitchens. Don't be afraid of fat and salt. Don't be
You
afraid
can
of
be,
us,
you
even
can
though
be
we
afraid
are
of us. You
scary.
can be afraid of us. That's good.
Yeah.